Yeah, but you haven't you haven't changed at all. It seems like you haven't changed at all. Do you feel that way? Because I remember whenever we first talked to you, and I think it's probably how everybody responded to you, is like, oh, I don't think we've ever seen a head coach with this type of personality. Obviously, incredibly smart. We all know your Ivy League background and big brain and what you do with the offense. But the way yeah, you got a big ass. Under that long ass hair, you got a big ass brain.
Huge.
We know that. But the way you deliver, the way you talk, we all were excited to see how you would relate to the locker room and how it would translate to the players. Feels like you have not changed and had the massive success. Have you felt that, or have you had to adjust the way you do things from day one? Obviously, a little bit of evolution, or have you kind of come in and been ready for the gig since day one?
Well, I think it's very important, especially when you're really pushing everyone around you, whether it's players or the coaching staff. You're pushing them to improve and to continually get better. I think it's in the nature of the way I see the business and my role. I think there's definitely been things that I learn along the way, having it being my first rep at it. But in terms of the person, I think take her or leave it. I've never fancied myself as like a chameleon to adapt my personality. I think so much of what I ask every person that works with me to invest and trust in me, I think it's in the bylaws of my job to give them, myself and be vulnerable when those times are necessary. Just be, that honest version of yourself, because that's, to me, what is owed to all the people that you're asking to trust.
Players are going to
So I haven't really changed, but I have.
Yeah, well, I understand you probably have changed and tightened some things up, but you maintaining who you are is a big part of your players buying in, because the locker room can tell if somebody's being fake or if they're being real. And you've seemingly been very real from the jump about it all, including the most important position, Tua. And that started literally, I think, the day that you were signed as the head coach. Whenever you're flying on the plane, you called Tua. We had a conversation about, hey, let's take advantage of everything Tua has that is great. Instead of knocking him down for the things that he doesn't have, which seemingly was the way Tua's career was going before you got there. The accuracy was the conversation. Then the arm strength. Then the jiu-jitsu. But whenever we start mixing all those things that he is great out, he has turned into one of the top quarterbacks in the NFL. Seeing his development, seeing his growth, seeing him get paid, how proud of you are of him, and what do you see and expect for him from this season?
I'm absolutely I'm over the moon for him writing history as he has, so that that bold proclamation that history has done service to, it looks it's debilitatingly undercutting if he doesn't do everything that he needs to do to really evolve as a man and as a player. And then as well as guys signing up to be on the front end of the vision, and his teammates decided before it was popular to truly believe in him as well. So there's a whole to watch that mature is absolutely probably second only to bringing this organization a Super Bowl. I think because that's what it's about. You're trying to positively impact people, and for the way I look at it is I would hope that every day I try to earn the fact to earn the role, because I think if there's somebody else better equipped, they should have the job. I think players deserve your absolute best, and it's amazing what in healthy relationships, from teammate to coach, how things can really evolve and people can grow, and I think that's the cool thing about Tua is he's always evolving. And this, I really can relate to someone assuming they know exactly what you are, only to, attempt to show them a different version.
Well, now he's the thinner, more jacked version.
That's right.
And you almost said the word culture. You seemingly stayed away from. I heard call almost come out there whenever you're talking about the. Do you try to stay away from that, or is that was basically what you were just describing right there? It felt like.
Yeah, I think it's culture is a unique blend of having a philosophy and principles, but then really it comes down to the people that you have. Like I can say till I'm blue in the face that I want a culture of X, Y, or Z, but to really create a culture, you need driven people that are signing up to buy into what that is. And, I think there's a lot of power in focusing, really an easy way to explain it is I see everything as an opportunity cost. So if you're spending time thinking about one thing, you are not spending time doing something else. And when you're living in a world where you're trying to figure out what someone wants you to be like, I think that's destructive to the ultimate goal of that everyone's trying to achieve. So I think to be your best self, you have to be yourself. I kind of leave it at that, and then try to set the tonality for people to follow in terms of how you approach football. That doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what I say or what I do if I don't have the right people, not only to echo the message from the coaching staff, but then the players to choose to buy in and maybe put forth a extra effort and go the extra yard more than they're familiar with.
Well, I think whenever you have success, it's easier for everybody to buy in, right? Because they see like, hey, if we buy in,
yes,
we're going to have success. Last year, there was a time where there was no team in the NFL that was hotter than Miami Dolphins. I mean, you guys hung 70 on the Denver Broncos, and they were talking about people saying the Walmart family is going to sell the Broncos because of what the Miami Dolphins just did. Yeah, it was your offense that became that part of the conversation, in the buy-in, in the success, in the belief, in the electricity that was this Miami Dolphins team. Whenever you see everybody humming the way they were there for a while last season, now obviously negative 20-degree weather is going to affect everybody, and that has been thrown in your face, and I assume you will have a rebuttal to that at some sort in this particular answer. But whenever you see what your team could be last year, how promising is that? Do you harp on that to the team? Like, hey, if we get back to playing like this, if we play like this, we could beat everybody. Like, whenever you have that type of run last year, is that something that's beneficial to the entire team, I assume, and to the entire organization? And how does that become every single day now?
No, so I think to start out, when I'm talking to the team and just when I think about it on a whole, you have to separate the fact that the 2024 Dolphins, I think 40% of the roster was, or 40% of last year's roster is still here in 2024.
Oh,
so understanding that, and that's pretty much around the league, you're right around 50 to 40% of retention in this day and age of the league. So understanding that, there are absolutely tremendous lessons that you can take that 40% of your roster got to experience live speed from that season, and I think that's very valuable when you're applying it to this season, because just like you can't carry the residuals of you win a Super Bowl last year, you can't carry that point differential margin into this year. Everything starts anew with a new team. But I think absolutely you had live speed examples of how magnetic, or there's just the fan base and the organization, and how it's like lighting a match with the excitement of a fan base that's been through some stuff and organizations that's been through some stuff. So you can feel that and you can feel how much doing half or three quarters or all the way to week 17 to like it's all awesome, but there's still the longevity of the journey and where you have to be in your finest moments. It would be impossible not to take those lessons and I apply them all the time. I learned a ton. I know a lot of the players did, and the bottom line is it is a very important lesson for every NFL player to learn that hype exists and is temporary. How fleeting, over embellishment or like, people, the narratives and people loving you and saying you're going to win the Super Bowl or whatever, how fleeting that is and how little it matters when you have the experience of the up and down of the season. I think it's very beneficial for this team to have so many people that had that lesson to really understand why it's all important. You can say what you want about negative whatever. Why were we playing in that game? Okay, so then how does that? How do we learn from that for this season, and how can we truly make sure that we cross our T's and dot our I's from a preparation standpoint? And how do we just literally leave it out on the football field, knowing that everything matters, knowing that a loss that you have in October or November that you may just chalk up to, okay, that's another game. Well, that could be the difference in you having your helmet crack in sub-zero weather and sweating with a tank top after the game because you're at home. Like the immensity of how important everything is in our process. I think guys trusted me when I said how it all matters, but there's nothing more valuable than learning it firsthand. And we hope to carry those learning lessons this season.
I love that, because if you don't win your last game, boy, what a failed year.
Yep.
And that's just kind of, you talked about the overhype and over-embellishment of being great, fleeting. It's like, yeah, if you lose your last game, it's like, what? That team was fake. That team. Like, that is the story that goes.
Case in point, I think if there would be a game where we would, on the final drive, have the potential to kick a field goal for 73 points, I don't think I would have to explain my rationale about why you don't chase points in week 3 for no reason to a lot of the players. I think they would. Now it makes a little more sense in hindsight, and I think that they'd probably be getting pissed at me if I tried to send a field goal kicker out in a scenario like that moving forward, because we have bigger fish to fry.